Roll call, followed by invocation by Pastor Mike Cassidy from the Faith United Methodist Church, and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Alderman Knox.
Alderman Arnold.
Here.
Alderman Bass.
Here.
Alderman Cleaver.
Here.
Alderman Knox.
Here.
Alderman Mills.
Here.
Alderman Skinner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Let's pray.
Let's pray. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather, a place to gather together and to do your work for the good of our community, for the good of those around us, Lord, that we might seek what is beneficial, seek what is hope-filled, and seek what is gracious to all those around us. Lord, be with us in our time this evening. May our thoughts be yours. And it's in your holy name we pray. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda.
No changes, Mayor.
We have 3 proclamations tonight. We have 3 Eagle Scout recognitions: John Campbell, Noah Campbell, and Benjamin Fligg. Have them come up.
Yeah, we can, if you want to go there.
You guys want to come up?
Right there.
And right there. Whereas Noah Campbell, Sean Campbell, and Benjamin Fligg have distinguished themselves by obtaining the rank of Eagle Scout with Boy Scout Troop number 692, and whereas Noah, Sean, and Benjamin have been recognized in this area for their outstanding community service, leadership skills, a positive attitude, and academic achievement. Whereas Noah, Sean, and Benjamin have proven to be an asset to the Grain Valley community, their troop, their family, and their friends. And whereas Noah, Sean, and Benjamin have set an example for others to follow and has distinguished themselves, their troop, their community with this award. And whereas the City of Grain Valley would like to recognize Noah, Sean, and Benjamin for their outstanding achievement of becoming an Eagle Scout. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the City of Grain Valley Board of Aldermen and Mayor Mike Todd are proud to recognize Noah Campbell, Sean Campbell, and Benjamin Fligg for achieving Scouting's highest honor bestowed, the rank of Eagle Scout. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed the 22nd day of August 2022 in the city of Grain Valley, Missouri.
We missed the approval of the agenda.
Public comment? Sorry?
Approval of agenda.
We did.
Okay.
So we have public comments. We ask that anybody who wants to come up and speak, limited to 3 minutes. And there is a sign-in sheet, so if you'd like to come up, sign in, sign up, and come up and speak. Do you have anybody that would like to speak?
I'm Jan Burrell. I want to come to thank you very much for the railing on the sidewalk. I never expected it to grow so quickly, and it is a big help to me, especially as I said, going down, to have something to just balance on. It has been very rarely, if ever, that I've come before the board to ask for something that didn't happen. And so I want to say I'm appreciative of that. I'd like to say to the community that they could maybe complain less and come to the board more. And they would see that you are open to what the citizens have to say. Thank you very much.
Anyone else like to speak? Please state your name and sign in.
My name is Melissa Hudson, and I just wanted to voice my opinion about no more multi-family dwellings in the city. I would like to see the city invest in some nicer subdivisions. We have enough duplexes and townhomes, and we have an apartment complex that I thought, oh, it's gonna be really nice. I live almost right across the street from there, and it's hideous. And I drove by there the other day to go to Dollar General, and the trash is overflowing, and that's not what I want our city like. And I know that maybe ultimately that's the responsibility of whoever owns the complex, but if they're not willing to take care of their complex and have it nice, then, I mean, I just don't think that's what our city wants to represent. And I would like to bring in, you know, nicer homes, nicer communities, have a nicer, you know, a bigger, not that our community center's not nice, but also that get bigger and just focus on that. So I just wanted to give my opinion on, I really am not interested in seeing any more multi-dwelling facilities in our city. And that's it. Thank you so much for your time. And I have reached out to my aldermen too and have emailed them and let them know my feelings on that. So thanks for the time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Need to state my name or anything?
Yes, please state your name and sign
Lori
in.
Duncan. Oh, do I need to sign in?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will. My preference also is not to allow the repositioning of on-bill B 2221, and I have several reasons. It seemed like this bill was brought before us before, and it was shot down, and now why is it coming back? I want to know who's in charge. Is the contractor in charge of the city, or are you guys in charge? The other thing is, has traffic studies been done? That little cut-through road is like the only alternate that there is instead of going through downtown Green Valley, which you know is ridiculous at times. Adding the complex, we'll need extra police, EMTs, teachers, schools, and who's gonna pay for that? Once again, us. Already talked about that. The streets don't seem to me, I mean, the side streets are really good. You guys are trying to maintain them really good. But like on BB, we had 2 big potholes that didn't get filled for months. They are filled now. I appreciate that. But that just, you know, with more traffic, it's just gonna cause more problems. And I think 40 Highway, if you add that complex, is gonna need 4 lanes. Who's gonna pay for that? Again, us. And our taxes are way too high. And I've heard other people, just one more thing, that live up north, they're saying, and their kids, why did we move here? we could live in Leawood and have the same personal property taxes and still, have new restaurants, be close to everything within 20 minutes, Kansas and Missouri. So anyway, that's mine. That's my deal. And my preference is not to allow the rezoning. Sorry, I'm not used to speaking.
You're fine.
That sign-in sheet's new for us too.
You sure what?
That's new for us too.
Did I go past my limit?
Not at all.
Fine.
Did awesome.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, ladies first.
Good grief.
My name is Danielle Arnold. I do not want this apartment complex. It is too many people for our town. It drives too much traffic in the area. It takes away from too many resources for our community. We are strapped as it is. And where are we going to find the cops that we're going to need to help take care of this area? Because cops are on short hand. So, no, I don't want it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening.
Hello.
This is my first time here. I guess I sign in here, my.
Yes.
Got it.
Everything.
And state your name,
Just
please.
State it first. Okay.
Sure.
My name is Woodrow Craighead. I go by Woody. I live at 721 Southwest Rock Hill Drive. And I'm against the apartment complex north of the bus barn. And like a lot of people say, it was in the military. That whole traffic over there is a Charlie Foxtrot, just trying to get through there. And, so I'm against it, so sign this.
Yes, please. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, this is my first time here too. My name is Doris Snyder. What else do you want to know?
The address?
1005 Southwest Cross Creek Drive, Green Valley. That it? Okay, I just wanted to tell you that I am not in favor of the rezoning on Bill B 2221. I don't think we need any more apartments. We've got all those big apartments that Mr. Ward is building. That street, I don't think that street is going to be able to handle the flow of traffic with a big, huge apartment there. And also, one lady said the streets aren't getting maintained. That street had a pothole for a long time. And with all the police and you're gonna have to have more police probably, and it's gonna put more children probably in the schools. I don't know, maybe the contract, are you getting more taxes off of people that live in these apartments? Anyway, I'm not in favor of it, just that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
name's Jeff Houston. I live at 624 Southwest Mural Drive, Green Valley. And I'm against those apartments too, because these apartments over here are not even done yet. And now we're talking about maybe putting some over on the north side. We need some more like sit-down restaurants and stuff instead of McDonald's and stuff. We ought to see if we can invest in more of those sit-down restaurants to keep families over in the Green Valley area instead of going to Blue Springs and Oak Grove and stuff. So it's taken them forever to get those apartments over there done. And they've got some sit-down restaurants, but we need more sit-down restaurants than we do more apartments. And plus, we need, well, I guess we're working on our taxes to get it lower. I don't know exactly what everybody's doing here, but. Yeah, they need to finish those apartments up before they even think about doing those other apartments. Oh, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Brian Schongert. I live at 780 Ryan Road, West Ryan Road, here in the wonderful city of Green Valley. I'm here, as many others have been this evening, to speak against item 14, the B22-21, rezoning of the property from fourplexes to multifamily apartment dwellings. It's in an area that is not conducive to having that much traffic and that much population crammed into a small area with one way in and one way out. If there's ever an emergency in that apartment complex, with having one path in or one feeder road into that area, our people in emergency vehicles going to get into and out of the apartment complex area. Not to mention just the drain on public services that it is going to have on the school district for having to place the children into the schools. It's going to either increase the workload on the teachers, or it's going to cause the teachers to have to expand or have overcrowded classrooms. The only other option is, of course, building more schools. The building of more schools is going to fall onto the general homeowner taxpayers. It's not going to fall onto the apartment owners. The developer of that property and whoever manages it isn't going to pay the lion's share of building and maintaining schools, or building and maintaining the roads, or building and maintaining the general infrastructure that is going to be needed for that area. It's a high hazard, low return investment, short-term investment. I urge you and implore you, as who is supposed to be the managers of this city, to do the same, or have the same gumption as the city of Blue Springs has just had in voting down a gated community. They stood up to a developer and said, no, we don't want this in our city. It is not what our citizens want in our community. I implore you to listen to the community members that have shown up here tonight and voice their concerns, and vote no on the rezoning of the area and the approval of the apartment complex. Stand up to developers and tell them we want quality in our city, not quantity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should a lot of this discussion be done during the hearing when this is brought up?
Well, the hearing's already happened, so this is just the reading of the item tonight.
Can I take a moment to address a lot of their issues that they seem to complain about? I mean, I could have gone to the schools and filled this building with people in support of the product, which Mr. Arnold did to get people to come against us here. Tax-wise, we pay 32% on assessment valuation, residential is 19%. The project, 3 other developers have tried to come in with fourplexes to make this project work. All of them have failed at it because they couldn't make it work due to the city requirements that's being laid on that piece of property. I need less stuff in my head here. The city presently is setting at less than 3% vacancy rate on any apartments, anything for rent in Green Valley or Blue Springs. So the need is here. We do pay our taxes. I probably pay half of the school taxes out of all the industrial property in north of town that has no use for the schools. They supply tax dollars for the schools. We continue to build up there. We're supplying more tax dollars to schools than anybody else in Green Valley. This project is going to supply more tax dollars than any residential project. You speak about high-end residential. We're talking $500,000 houses. How many subdivisions in Green Valley has $500,000 houses? How many people can afford $500,000 houses? We're building Woodbury out there right now. It's doing fairly well. It's slowed down during this last 3 or 4 months because of the price. Affordable housing, I think that was brought up. What do you think daily for affordable housing in Green Valley now?
I know $250,000 to $400,000 is out of the price range of most people.
Correct. And I hate to say this, but an affordable starter housing now is $250,000 to $275,000. I don't know how many young couples that are just married that can afford a product like that in Green Valley. They can't, so they have to drop back to apartment living. We're putting amenities into these with pools, dog parks, walking trails, probably more amenities in this complex than any of them Green Valley's had before, and most of Blue Springs. The project's not a slum like it kind of making it sound like. It's a high-end, we're trying to supply a product that married couples, couples with a kid, 1 kid or so. We're not going to be filling the schools up. I think we're less than 10% 3-bedroom units there. So we're more after the 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, married couples with very young kids, which will not be taxing on them. And hopefully by that time, they got themselves can afford to buy a house in Green Valley. Hopefully the price is going to come down. But right now, I don't know any married couple can afford a $250,000 house. So we have to have an alternative here. And we don't have that mix in Green Valley right now.
We're at 3 minutes if you guys want to vote to extend.
That's about all I got.
Sorry.
Okay.
I probably may come back later.
Sorry.
Thank you.
My name's Clayton Estes. I live at 705 Northwest Eagle Drive. Wasn't even sure I was going to come up and make a comment until I listened to what was just said. I think a lot of the commentary that was just made is disingenuous at best. First off, to say that you're going to build and I guess I should clarify. I'm against the ordinance. I'm against increasing the amount of housing in that area. For somebody to come up here and tell us that they're going to develop that land and put in swimming pools and dog parks and trails, I'm sorry, did they not drive up the site? It backs up against the railroad tracks. It's railroad tracks on one side, highway behind that, airport behind that. Across the side is an undeveloped, a creek that you can't develop across. So who's going to come live in this is the question. I can tell you, I have spent the last 20 years of my life in law enforcement, working across 4 different states, multiple major cities, minor cities, villages, towns, whatever. Want to know where the majority of my time is spent? Multifamily housing like they're talking about. If our law enforcement is already strapped at this point, protecting our citizens, now we're going to bring in a bunch of people who are not going to add money. Drive around to some of these areas. Drive around to some of these areas, especially duplexes in the areas that we're talking about, or drive around to some of these pre-existing buildings. Why not spend the money fixing those up and making those neighborhoods better? And instead, we're going to add a bunch more. I would question too, how many times have law enforcement been sent out to the new apartment complex? How much time on a weekly basis are officers being sent out there instead of doing other things? We're already strapped and having trouble finding good candidates. This isn't going to help. I moved my family to the city 5 years ago. we moved up here from Colorado, Arkansas, because we saw the potential. I grew up in a small town in Nebraska. My wife grew up in a small town in Arkansas. We wanted a place that we could live with our kids and see them thrive and have the small town atmosphere in nice houses with access to the Kansas City amenities. And things like this are going to take that away. It's going to drive the property values down. He's right. More people are going to move in the area to start homes because properties like this drive down the values, and they drive people out because we don't want to be buying houses. It happens in my neighborhood alone. We have half the neighborhood is duplexes, and half the neighborhood is homeowners. And the property values on the other side of across the street, and the property values drop like a rock because there's multifamily rentals. Now, I'm not against rentals. It's necessary. But I don't think you're going to get luxury living on a place that backs up against railroad tracks. I don't think any of that is going to be beneficial to the city.
Sorry.
Am I close on time?
Yes, we're
No,
there.
you're fine. I'm sorry. I was trying to watch it. I didn't see the
That
clock.
one,
Working
stop
word.
looking right now. I'm so sorry.
No, you're all right.
I know. It's just, I think if I was a little bit closer.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Brian Ron. I'm with Blue Spring Safety Storage South, 1120 Eagle Ridge Boulevard, Green Valley. Hearing everything tonight, I just wanted to, kind of bring up a couple different things real quick. We've gone through the project. The project exceeds the city's ordinances in every way. Right? In addition to parking, in addition to green space, in addition to, all of the different things that, as a developer, we're supposed to meet, we're well above that. But when we're talking about, why build the apartments, earlier, in a previous meeting, I heard somebody say, we want people to put down roots in Green Valley. Well, right now, it's next to impossible for a family to put down roots in Green Valley in a single-family home. Everybody'd love to build single-family homes, all right, but a lot's $75,000. All right, we talked about $250,000 as a starting price. Those aren't being built because a lot is $75,000. For a family to start out in Green Valley right now, to set down these roots, they're gonna need a place where they can start. Multifamily is one option. The other thing is we have a whole different generation that initially doesn't want, a single-family home. Right? Communities are building these types of projects because these are where people are starting out. We've met all of the requirements. It is a nice product. It is a nice area. It's not right up against the railroad tracks. There's a buffer. It's surrounded by multifamily already. It's already zoned for multifamily. Yes, we did increase the density somewhat over what was originally proposed there, but we didn't change it from multifamily. Or single family. It was already multifamily. We did increase the density because several other developers were not able to develop the property based off the density that was there. This works. It's a nice product. It's a nice addition to the community. And the last thing I'm going to say is, yeah, we want the restaurants. We want to get the tax base. That's going to help the schools. That's going to help the roads. Need the residents. All right. Restaurants will move in when you have the residents. When you have the people, population, that's what's going to draw that. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Larry Chipwood. I live at 1002 Southwest Cross Creek Drive here in town. I've been here, about since the farm started. And I came out here, I like the city, I always do. I tell people, come out to Green Valley. I think, I told them where that 30 years ago than today, but that's how it is. I just heard about this today, and I was at first negative. I really was. I was afraid, what would this impact the schools? You know, I've got my grandkids going now, and you know, I don't want to have them overcrowded in the classrooms for teachers. I ran out there and looked at the property today, and I've known it. I've driven by it quite a few times. Not real happy with the property and being there with the bus barn and the commercial buildings there beside it and all, and everything. But I'll tell you the truth, I feel better. I walked in here, saw who was putting it in. And I believe in wards. I worked with them when I was on the planning and zoning 20 years ago. I think that they probably will keep it up, you know, and that's important. But I can sit here now after hearing about this at 2 o'clock today, and I'm going, geez, what do? It's a toss-up, pretty much. But I think I'd go against it. I really do in the long run. But I think the wards have done a lot for the town. They've taken care of what they've put in. I have no complaints with them at all. So I don't know if I make sense or not, but it's just how it is. It goes both ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? All right.
I don't know, just standing there.
So we're gonna
Yeah.
close the public comments?
Yeah.
Okay. Move on. Mayor Todd's here. You wanna come in? Let him take over his seat.
Are you gladly giving that up?
He's here.
Hi. Sorry, everyone. I had open house tonight, so I had to meet all my new kiddos for the year. So we're a little late. So next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move that we accept the consent agenda.
I motion Alderman Skinner to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Knox. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Seeing no previous business, new business, presentations, public hearings, we'll move on to resolutions. We have Resolution R 22-58. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley, Missouri, to enter into an agreement with Confluence Incorporated for professional plan services for a comprehensive master plan update and parks master plan.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R 22-58.
I have a motion from Alderman Mills to approve Resolution R 22-58. Do I have a second? Second, Alderman Skinner. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, as you remember, one of the directives from the board was to go after a consultant to not only do a comprehensive plan update, but also do a parks master plan, which has not been done in the city previously. So we did put out a request for proposals. After getting those proposals back, they were ranked, and then we interviewed the firms. And after that, going through that process, Confluence is the firm that we felt best fit the needs of the city. If the name sounds a little familiar, they were actually a sub-consultant on our 2014 comprehensive plan. We had a good experience with working with them, but we just think with their experience and resources that that's the best fit for us to move forward.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That's it for resolutions. Next up is ordinances.
I'll state it first, yeah, sorry. So excited. So bill number B-2224 is an ordinance approving the final plat of Eagle Ridge Estates' 6th plat.
Mayor, I move that we accept the first reading of bill number B 2224 and bring it back for its second reading by title only at our next regular session.
I have a motion from Alderman Skinner to approve Bill B 22-24, bring it back for its second reading by title only for our next meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Skinner, or not Alderman Skinner, Alderman Mills, you already for a second. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Trozen for a quick overview.
Mayor and members of the board, the purpose of this request is to gain final plat approval for Eagle Ridge Estates 6 plat consisting of lots 143 through 166 and 182 through 197. Property consists of approximately 8.93 acres in size, located south of Woodbury Drive, and its continuation of the streets of Northwest Hilltop Lane and east of Northwest High View Drive. It's zoned District R1. There will be 40 lots in this plat. The Planning and Zoning Commission has approved the preliminary plat November 18th, 2020. The final plat is an extension of Eagle Ridge subdivision. The final plat is in conformance with the engineering design civil plans. The construction is completed and accepted by the city engineer. The commission reviewed the final plat at their August 10th, 2022 meeting and recommends approval to the Board of Aldermen. Staff recommends approval.
I would like on the Ridge while we're talking about that, if I can. These are, we don't think that we're coming down here just building apartments. This is actually another phase of trying to accomplish affordable housing of what you can call affordable housing in Green Valley. This is just another lots that houses are going to be between the 250, the starter homes basically, $250,000 and $275,000. We're trying to keep them in. So we are still trying to keep that basis still coming into Green Valley as much as we can. So I just want, we're not here just to do the apartment complexes. We're also here to do the upper end houses. We're still here to do the starter homes and try to make it available for people that can afford starter homes in Green Valley. Thanks.
Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign.
The next bill is Bill B number B22-25. This is an ordinance approving a water purchase contract with the Tri-County Water Authority.
Mayor, I move that we accept Bill B 2225 for its first reading, bring it back for its second reading by title only.
I motion from Alderman Arnold to approve Bill B 22-25 for its first reading, bring it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Cleaver.
No, Cleaver.
Cleaver.
Cleaver, I can. Careful
I know
with
we
that.
sound
I know
alike.
you're like,
We sound a lot alike.
any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, as you know, we purchase our water from two sources. It's Tri-County Water Authority and Independence Water. Our contract with Tri-County Water is coming up. It's basically by statute, you can only enter into an agreement for so many years. So we are at that point where we need to renew that agreement. So that's what you have before you for consideration.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
The next one is Bill number B22-21. This is an ordinance changing the zoning on approximately 7.53 acres from District R3 PUD to District R3P, and approval of the preliminary development plan and plat for the lofts at Creekside Landing.
Mayor, I move that we accept the first reading of bill number bill number B22-21 and bring it back for its second reading by title only at our next regular session.
Okay. I have a motion from Alderman Bass to approve Bill B22-21 for its first reading, bring it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
And second, Alderman Skinner. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Trozen for a recap.
So, as you recall, the public hearing was held on July 11th, 2022. There's been a lot of discussion naturally regarding this project. There is a staff report in your packet regarding this project. Just to summarize a little bit regarding the project, as there's been discussion on it, this is a change of zoning on the 7.53 acres from District R3 PUD multifamily residential plan unit development. That PUD was approved by ordinance 1870 on December 18th, 2006, changing the zoning from District A agricultural to R3 PUD multifamily plan unit development. The proposed PUD contained 17 buildings consisting of 2, 3, and 4 units complex with a total of 56 units. There was also a looped public street in that proposed project. This change in zoning is to R3P multifamily planned overlay district that will consist of 24 units in each building. There will be 4 of those buildings, 3 fourplexes, and then 1 duplex for a total of 110 units. There will be no longer a looped public street in this complex. There will be a parking lot that would serve all these units in there. As there's been discussion in regards to the parking, the city regulation requires 220 parking spaces. The applicant has exceeded that and is providing 255 spaces. There's been discussion regarding the amenities to the facility. The developer is providing a community building, a swimming pool, a playground, and pickleball courts. Also, there's discussion in regards to open space. There's approximately 51% of the site that will be pervious or green space to the development. There's also landscaping that exceeds the city's requirements. There's also in District P screening that's required. There will be a 6-foot fence along the west, north, and east side of the proposed development. The applicant has submitted building elevations that have been reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission as well as by staff. The commission, Planning and Zoning Commission, held a public hearing on the proposed development. They approved the development and on the change in zoning and preliminary development plan and recommended approval to the Board of Aldermen, as well as the staff recommends approval of the change in zoning and preliminary development plan. I should also add that the city's comprehensive plan, preferred land use map in the city's comprehensive plan illustrates this area as multifamily residential.
Any questions or discussion?
I have a couple questions, yeah. And Mark, I think you answered the lion's share of my questions in that, so thank you. I do have a couple supplementary questions to that, however. So you mentioned that this zoning was set or changed in December 2006, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Under a parcel of land that's zoned R3 PUD, currently, are apartment buildings allowed under the multifamily dwelling?
So are we only talking about this piece of ground? Or are we talking in general?
In general.
So in general, R3, there are several land uses that are allowed in R3 zoning. You want me to cover all those?
If you don't mind, if it's not too lengthy of a list.
No problem. So in District R3, multifamily residential, this is in section 400.090, apartment houses or multi-dwellings is allowed, 2-family dwellings is allowed, nursing homes, boarding, and lodging homes are allowed. And there are certain uses as permitted in subsection B2 through 8, which is in District R1 single family, that are allowed. These uses include churches, temples, synagogues, and associated outreach services, public parks and playgrounds, public recreation or community buildings, public museums, public administrative buildings, public libraries, police stations and fire stations, public schools and private schools are allowed, golf courses, not including golf course clubhouses because they're only allowed by conditional use permits, railroad right-of-ways, the use of buildings or premises used for public utility services as authorized by the Public Service Commission.
Thank you. Is there a limit on the number of units, apartment units currently for this parcel of land that is allowed under the current zoning?
So under, for this particular piece of property?
Correct.
So under this particular piece of property, the ordinance number 1870 that was approved on December 18th, 2006, there was a specific plan that was approved under the PUD, Plan Unit Development. So that plan is what is currently allowed under this particular parcel right now. So that would be then that density and plan that was approved at that time, which was the total of 56 units for that development.
Okay, so we are talking about, the math here, 16 years ago, correct?
Correct.
Close
Pressure
to that,
math.
close to that. Okay. Is it true that at any point, my understanding, we're going to ask you, this will be my last question, at any point in time between 2006 and now, could a developer or contractor have come into the site and built an apartment unit?
They would have to have, the only way they could have built something, they would have to have complied with the PUD that was approved by ordinance 1870.
Sure. Okay, so as long as they complied with the existing PUD, they could have built an apartment complex.
That's correct, according to that plan.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I have a couple, just because I was listening to the YouTube stream on the way here from school, but it kept buffering, so maybe you answered some of them, I don't know. But I know traffic, I heard traffic brought up a couple times. Have we looked, I mean, has there been any kind of traffic study done?
Well, traffic, so Snybar Parkway, Snybar Boulevard are both collector and above streets, right? So collector and above streets will be able to handle this type of density in regards to the development. The city engineer has reviewed that.
And my next is, so this is just the rezoning on the PUD. I mean, it's thought to come in for plat review and all that, correct?
On the plat?
Yeah, because I'm talking about, I know that like emergency services would still have to look at, before they approved it, the widths and everything to make sure that.
Well, it's rezoning and the preliminary.
Okay,
plan
okay.
plat.
So I know it has to be looked at by CJC at some point. Has that happened?
No, not at this point. It'll have to be reviewed by CJC at the point of building permit
Okay.
review. They review the plans for the building permit. But also, as a part of this plan development, the applicant will have to come back for final plan development review, both by the Planning and Zoning Commission as well as by the Board of Aldermen.
And it is required that the buildings are sprinkled, correct?
That was testified by the applicant.
Yes, they are sprinkled, and yes, I have had discussions with Chief Llewellyn at CJC.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Yeah, Mark, clear me up on this. It's already approved in 2006, so what are we doing now?
No,
I thought
the
I
plan-
knew.
The plan that was approved in 2006, I'm going to refer to as the Royer Plan. The Royer Plan only called for a density of 56 units. That consisted of 2, 3, and 4 units. There were duplexes, 3plexes, and 4plexes, a total of 56 units within that development. And there was a looped public street. You should have received a copy of that development. That was approved back in 2006. Is that clear?
Yeah, I guess where I'm hung up here is,
So the reason why this is going before you as a change in zoning to because they are changing the development plan. So they're changing the actual plan. So when there's a change in the plan, even though the underlying zoning is still in R3, the overall development plan is changing. So they're going from an R3 PUD which had a density of 56 units, to now an R3 planned development with a density of 110 units. Does that clear it up?
Well, kind of, but yeah.
Hey, Mark, real quick.
Sure.
So on this new plan, it's going to be a parking lot. It's not going to be a city street.
That's correct.
Let's say these guys, Ward Development decided they were going to build exactly to the original Royer plan, and it's a city street. How many years from today do we start the clock to replace that street?
Well, the overlay program, I would say we would probably be mill and overlaying it probably in 7 to 10 years.
What's an average cost of that looped one-way in, one-way out street? I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'm not gonna hold you to it. Just a number.
Depends on the year and how much oil is.
Yeah.
In today's climate, let's just say where everything's already double the cost.
Yeah, I would say probably would cost us, I'd say probably about $30,000 to $50,000 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, not, and then, you know, there's other costs to maintaining a road.
Sure.
Right? Because
You're the expert, so.
Well, sure, because not only that, we're going to plow it, right? And we got curb and gutter, because curb and gutter sometimes, you know, over a period of time, you're replacing that concrete curb and gutter and items like that.
So we're not gonna be responsible for this parking lot. It's gonna be the same as a Price Chopper parking lot. If there's a pothole in Price Chopper parking lot, the city's not going to fill a pothole in Price Chopper's parking lot. So that, I'll finish by saying I grew up in Green Valley. I graduated high school in Green Valley in 2009. After college, it was time to start looking, where are you gonna move to, right? There was no way that I could afford a house in Green Valley out of college. I keep looking at you. I'm not directing this to you, Mark, by any means, but I just keep looking at you. So, you know, I ended up moving to Columbia because there was apartments and stuff like that. I moved to a bigger city because they did have stuff like this. And I have a lot of friends who moved away from Green Valley after high school and never came back because they moved to a different city that had that entry level type housing, this multifamily or whatever. It's a starter type setup. And something like this coming out of high school, and it's got community building, the pool, the pickleball courts. I mean, that would have been something that I'd have been all over. And I think that a lot of my friends would have been over that too. Fortunately, it took me 12 years, but I finally got back to Green Valley, but there's no way I could have afforded the house I'm in today out of college. And any of the houses going on, $250,000 with the starting price of an average house going in Green Valley, not a chance that I could have stayed in Green Valley. So I do appreciate the opportunity for local residents here to stay in Green Valley. You know, we have a lot of stuff, Iron Kettle and different restaurants that are starting to pop up. I would imagine that this is only going to help that situation with bringing more population into Green Valley, a younger crowd, and going to help convince some of these restaurants that Mike's been talking to and everybody else that, hey, we have a population base here that can support you bringing a business in here. So that's all I have.
Okay. I've done my share of work to try and inform the public out there that this project was coming down and that we needed to hear their input on it. I tried to stay neutral on it to allow the people to come to their own conclusions, but it was very evident talking to people that this was not something that they felt was right for Green Valley. As I mentioned the first night that this was brought up, that this is a type of development that you see in the inner city where these buildings are crammed in close together because of the price of property and land and land availability is not there. So it causes a big concern there. They say this is going to be a high-end luxury type location, and okay, we've seen that at Bristol Parks, how it was managed, how it went along, and how it ended up turning out. I admire Mr. Ward and all he's done in our community and so forth, but it has not been without issues. I hesitate to say anybody that drove through the parking lot at the area where the new apartments are being built before when it was a grocery store and saw how the parking lot was maintained there. This place is gonna have a private parking lot around it. And that parking lot was a major concern and reason a lot of people didn't go to that local grocery store. They didn't want to damage their cars going through that parking lot. What do you think something similar occurs to this apartment building, how it's going to affect things? We do have substantial rental property available in this community for starter people to come into town. It seems like, and we have a substantial amount of stuff, land earmarked at this point on the books for additional multifamily duplexes and what have you. So somewhere a line needs to be drawn in that, yes, $250,000 is what we're building now because that is what is profitable for the builders to build. Somewhere along the line, we lost the deal that Green Valley was a small town and we wanted to keep that feel. So, you know, small homes weren't built like we used to have on Ryan Road and Golfview over here on the hill. You know, the 1,100 square foot homes. Everything we're building now is 1,500 to 2,500 square foot. And no, you're not going to be able to afford that as a starter home for somebody to move into Green Valley. There's cost of materials, labor. It just ain't going to happen. I was amazed at some of the slab homes that were built over here off of Front Street that, you know, they started at $190,000. Well, a little closer to a starter home price, but still, for what they were, I think that was still a little overpriced. Green Valley is such a high demand community that we need to be very careful what and how we meet that demand. And I think, you know, I found very few people that I spoke to about this that were in favor of another one. I spoke to law enforcement people. They talked about, as the other gentleman brought up, is how these end up causing considerable concerns because the clientele in there have issues with one another, parking in the parking lot, you know, and so forth. And so they spend a lot of time over there. And as we know, we're still probably short officers on our force and haven't been able to get the full force. So if we're spending a lot of time there, we're spending a lot of time in a bar or whatever. These are high use occupancies that cost the citizens money because we're spending more money to put people there. And yes, they pay a higher rate of tax at 32% of their assessed value versus single family, which is at 19%. But when you look at the request and requirement for service, they rarely pay for themselves. Studies on an open field. When I was on the planning and zoning, I went to training, and an open field was more advantageous to a city because of the services it did not require than to fill it with single-family housing. Because even at that, the difference between an open field and a field full of houses, there's more requirements for services, sewer, street repair, street lights, just everything down the line. So there's just a small sampling here of people that are not in favor of this, and that number is significantly higher out there. I've heard from a lot of them, and I really think that this needs to be reevaluated, and something between that 56 and 110 would be a better number. The 56 is what was allowed there. It has a smaller opportunity to impact our classroom sizes. The biggest problem I heard from talking to school people is that they can adjust for the number of kids that might be in there 1 year, okay, and classroom sizes grow. And then they grow again. And then, okay, now because we're getting overloaded classrooms, we gotta build more classrooms and hire more teachers. Well, then due to something changing at that particular facility, because it's a high-density facility, people move away and take their children with them. And now we no longer need these additional classrooms that we built because the children are no longer here. So those of us still living here and paying taxes now are carrying the brunt of that cost of that addition to the school and the teachers that are going to be in there. I really can't see this in any way being something favorable for Green Valley. And it has other than the fact it's going to pay it's going to pay a fair share of taxes. I mean, it's not going to be a cheap piece of property. But I look at some of the issues in the past that have occurred, you know, and it just, do we really want to go down the same path with a developer that we've had issues in the past? So.
David, what's your occupancy on the Old Town apartments? How about your guys' duplexes and stuff? Are they pretty much full too?
It seems like you're talking out both sides of your mouth, You do the growth and you think they're gonna move away. Has Green Valley population ever dropped in the last 4 years when I've been building? Never. Your population has continued to grow at a nice rate. So I don't think that's ever gonna happen. You're not gonna be sitting there holding the bag, paying taxes on a school that has been built over the years to generate. The school district is trying to get large enough to split into 2 high schools. How's that gonna happen without growth? As they talked about additional restaurants and things like that, and I've talked to you guys for 40 years since I've been developer. We've always been the stepchild of Blue Springs. For years, we've been the stepchild. We never could get anything. We've come in here, and along with other developers, we've built houses and apartments. We got the population here. We are now starting to get the attention of all the national users, the larger restaurants. They are kicking tires everywhere. So we are on the cusp of getting what you guys are wanting. You know, the bigger the restaurants, the nice sit-down restaurants, the different. We did get the grocery store over there, nice store. So I don't see it as a detriment to the school district. I think, you know, if they're wanting to grow like they're wanting to, you know, the other door school, this will help. They're not going to be cheap units. I mean, honestly, they're costing us about $120,000 built per unit. So they're not going to be cheap units there to build. So they're nice units. And like I said, we're less than 3% in Green Valley vacancies. We've got 1 unit over there, no units out north. Everybody we've talked to, we've got companies that do studies for Green Valley, less than 3% vacancy everywhere. So the mix, our property is not here. People are wanting, if you want people to move to Green Valley, we got to do something. So I feel you're going down a track that it's not really what the last 40 years that everybody's been working towards. I think that you're just trying to pull us backwards. I can say that. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions or discussion?
Robert Walters with Quist Engineering. Just to clarify, I do a lot of development in Lee Summit. And if you've ever went down Chipman Road and seen all the apartments over there, that's what I think the wards are trying to bring out here. There's tons of them and they're not slowing down at all. I just got one approved last month and it probably start construction, or not last month, last fall or spring. And it should start construction probably in January. And it's right over there by Chipman Road. Kind of the same, this isn't an industrial area, but it's a multi-family area. Like you said, floodplain on one side, train tracks. It's just an ideal location, plus it's a collector road. So it does fit location-wise. But just to clarify, there's a lot of multifamily going in. There's apartments, and they don't have the amenities that the wards are putting in here. I didn't have a clubhouse. I didn't have, and it was what's the one I sent you? Did I send that to you? Did you forward that? You did forward it to him?
No.
Oh, okay. I was doing it for the fire access because we've got them within 20 feet of each other over there, and the fire department was fine with that. We didn't have an access to that. But anyway, they did put in a dog park, and that was the only amenity we got for that apartment. And that was over what was it, 100? But yeah, so he is putting a lot of money into amenities, it seems to be. But anyway, that's just my opinion.
Question for you. So as an engineer who's designing these for multiple developers, not just the wards, are you guys seeing a trend toward younger people who just can't afford housing currently, and probably won't for a long time. It's not going down anytime soon. Going more the direction of these kind of higher end apartments, not duplexes, but
Well-
stuff that has amenities for gatherings.
Yeah, like my son, he graduated and is working for Boeing, great money. Decided to go to an apartment because he wanted to save up some money until, well, he went to an apartment with the amenities instead of going to the cheaper route. So he paid, I think it was $1,400 or $1,500 a month, which is, to me, crazy. But, you know, he did that for, I think, 4 years, and then he finally saved up and bought a starter home.
Sure.
It was an older home, so he could fix it up. But, you know, but over there is a lot, especially that downtown one they just put in on Douglas. I own a house on Douglas, but the rent for a single family and a rent for that are about the same because they have all the amenities. I just have a house. So it's, I mean, for me to say, I know what the market's doing, I have no idea. I just know developers are hiring me to design.
Exactly. Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Any questions for the board? All right, thank you.
I would just reiterate, that, you know, my daughter owns half of a duplex. That's the advantage of those over what we're building here. Townhomes, you know, duplexes, people can end up owning parts of those as condominiums and so forth. And that's one way of shutting down rents and building up equity in it. An apartment is something you're just throwing money out the window. You'll never get anything back out of it. Oh, and there is a need for people to have apartments that their jobs move them around too much, and or they just don't want to take care of it, mowing a yard or whatever. And we have those. We're building another complete unit down here that's not complete yet. We've got them all over town. You know, we're building some for senior citizens up north. You know, this will be our 6th or 7th, depending on how you count the apartment buildings in our community. You know, you've got the Bar Road apartments, you've got, you know, and different ones around town, high-density ones over here. Even some high-density homes like what was over behind, across I-70 behind those apartments would be a nicer thing for starter homes or whatever. But I just feel that, you know, public sentiment on this is it's not a good thing for Green Valley.
Anyone else on the board have anything additional? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
No?
No.
Any roll call that, or is that
That was Knox and Arnold, correct? Was a name.
4-2?
No.
No, I think you need.
Okay, how about roll
Roll
call
call.
so I can hear you guys? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Alderman Arnold,
No.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Bass,
No.
Alderman Skinner,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
No.
Alderman Cleaver.
Yes.
3-3.
Yes. Okay, next up, city attorney's reports.
So report, Mayor Todd, should I take time to introduce myself? I'm John Montino, grew up in Lexington. I'm your newest assistant city attorney. Thankful to be here.
Next up, city administrator and staff reports.
We'll start with Captain Hedger.
Mayor, unless you have questions, all I had was the Cops Cakes and Conversation is this Saturday. Pancakes in the Park over here at Armstrong from 8 to 11. And Solomon is challenged to a pancake eating contest if you're interested. His record was 32 last year. Days.
That's a lot.
Go with Mr. Davies.
Mayor and board, as I usually do this time of year, we're starting our fall youth baseball, softball season. We offer one in the spring, and then we offer one again in the fall. I usually provide an update on our numbers. We've got a little over 370 boys and girls registered for fall softball, baseball. Equates to 35 teams, which is about where we were at a year ago. So just wanted to provide a report on that.
Okay, Ms. Ozenbaugh.
Mayor and members of the board, after much conversation and discussion, we've made the decision to move our Halloween festivities from the trailer treat that we all know and love to the downtown area for a couple of reasons, primarily knowing that we're getting ready to build a police station in that area. This will have to happen at some point. And also with the downtown revitalization efforts, this fits hand in hand with getting people downtown and used to being downtown and interacting downtown. So I wanted to let you know that that change will be happening this year. We are renaming Trailer Treat to the Downtown Spooktacular, and it will be on October 28th. The main festivities that people will be mostly familiar with will happen from 6:30 to 8:30, but we have a few new things we're adding that will start around 6 p.m. with a opening ceremony, stage show kind of situation. Also looking at encouraging businesses to do window decorating, and then businesses and residents also to enter into a jack-o'-lantern carving contest, and we'll announce those winners that evening, amongst other things. So you'll start seeing communications come out about that shortly, but wanted to make everyone aware of that change.
Mr. Trozen.
So Mayor and members of the board, at the Board of Aldermen meeting on July 25th, Mayor, you had asked us to review with the Planning and Zoning Commission the parking requirements for multifamily residents. I prepared a memo in your packet. The staff reviewed with the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at their August 10th meeting. We presented to the commission information from other city ordinances regarding parking requirements from several other cities. We also talked about other multifamily developments in the city, what the parking requirements for the city would be based on those other city requirements. After some lengthy discussion with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and after looking at our parking requirements, the commissioners decided that there should be no changes to the parking requirements for multifamily in our city zoning regulations.
Thank you.
The only other thing, the meeting scheduled for September 12th, there's a conflict that night that we talked to Mayor about. It's actually the Missouri Municipal League Annual Conference. So we'd like to not have that meeting. Besides some staff being gone, we're also going to have the city attorneys at that conference as well. So we would be looking to cancel that meeting.
We need a motion to do that, correct? Okay. So since no one will be here, I will entertain a motion to cancel the September 12th meeting, and if we have a need for one, we can reschedule or Zoom it, right? Okay. Do I have a motion then to cancel that?
So moved.
Motion from Alderman Knox. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Bass. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. All right.
There are no more comments, Mayor.
Okay. Next up, Board of Aldermen reports and comments. Alderman Arnold.
I just want to congratulate the school district on a great opening first day of school. Buses were running pretty well, even though we did have a personal glitch with one of our grandchildren. There was confusion on which bus she was supposed to be on. She was on the right bus, but they said she was supposed to be on another one, but what's upset her thinking she was on the wrong bus. But other than that, everything went well. I did notice a comment on media that one of our officers, Mr. Gildahouse, had done a great job with a child out on the streets and got some public comment on the good job he done and the good interaction he had with that child. So he should be commended for stepping up. A lot of officers don't always work out of their comfort zone when it comes to children, so glad to see that participation out there. I noticed in the minutes of the planning and zoning minutes that they were going to be doing a public hearing meeting on about chain link fences and privacy fences along thoroughfares and collector streets. I was wondering what the possibility of those people that live mainly like along Snybar and some of the more prominent ones that are going to be affected the most. There's a lot of senior citizens that own property along these deals, and this is going to affect them quite a bit when it comes to meeting the new proposed concept of privacy fences of plastic or wood, or whether as opposed to chain link or other, and feasibility of mailing them information so that they are aware of this, so that if they're not caught off guard, you know, if they decide to put up a fence and this, you know, because we're affecting them specifically along those thoroughfares. So just looking for an avenue to make sure that we're doing a better job of entertaining and letting the public know that what's going on in the community. I know we're so limited with no paper, public media. A lot of people don't deal with internet and so forth. So it's going to have to fall down to either you put it in the water bill and send it out to let people know that that's going to affect them, and so they can be aware of it and come into that meeting on September 14th. I believe it is, either 12th or 14th, and 14th, so that they can come in and if they're have concerns about it, they can at least address them at that public meeting instead of trying to do catch up.
Well, we definitely have taken your suggestions as far as social media.
Yes.
And we're gonna do a better job of letting folks know about those type of items, in regards to that.
I think a water bill will be going out between now and then would be an opportunity to let everybody know that might be affected by that.
I'm not in charge of water bills, so I can't.
Yeah,
tell
I don't
you.
know which cycle that would be on. So the city split up into 2 cycles, so I'm not sure.
Both
I don't know.
won't go out before the
No, there's
meeting.
no way both of them would, but.
Yeah, I would serve whatever notice that I can to get that out.
Well, we got that opportunity to us to inform the public, and that's a topic that's going to affect them specifically in their pocketbook for these higher cost type fences, because I mean, the cost per foot on a privacy fence versus a chain link fence is quite a bit different. And so in any opportunity and every opportunity we have should be sent out to let the people know and keep them informed, because
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but if that passes planning and zoning, we have to have a public hearing, we would have to have a public hearing on also before we would discuss it, right?
That is correct.
So if we can't get the notice out for the P
Planning
and
and
Z
zoning,
one, we
public
can
hear-
definitely get it out. If they pass it and it comes to us.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There would be a second public hearing before the Board of Aldermen.
So we can definitely get it out in
So,
water
Mr.
bills
Arnold,
for
I will
that.
do my best to get it out, social media. I don't think I can make the promise that we would send it out by letter. I think that would be too many property owners. And as far as notification along those roadways, a letter going out to all those property owners along each of those streets. But we will do everything we can to notice property owners in regards to all the outlets that we have via social media, the city's website, in regards to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. And there would be a second public hearing before the Board of Aldermen in regards to that ordinance change, if it's recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Anything else, Alderman Arnold?
that'd be all.
Okay. Alderman Mills?
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Bass?
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Skinner?
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Knox?
I was approached by a resident over on Willow, and she wanted me, as long as the rest of the neighbors there wanted me to pass along that city staff and the water department did a wonderful job. There was a water main break. They called it in. First truck was there within 15 minutes to look at it, left, came back about 20 minutes later with a full crew and jumped right on it. And she just wanted everybody to know that the guys did a really good job and they appreciate it.
Alderman Cleaver?
Nothing tonight.
Next up is mayor's report. Only thing I have is since we're not doing that first meeting September 12th, we do have to have the tax levy set before the 1st of October.
Yeah, it's
Right.
last day in September.
So we need to know if the board would be all right with doing the public hearing and a double read on the tax levy in that second meeting in September. We're looking at no changes to it. I mean, so there'll be, it'll stay the same as what it is currently, which is, good with the police station coming online to be able to do that. So if you want to have 2 meetings for that, we would have to schedule another one in before that second one. And can't really do a public hearing on one. You can do one on Zoom, but it's not the easiest thing to do in the world. So everyone's thoughts on that? We okay with tax levy on the second one in September?
I see no reason to have 2 meetings. We can do it in one.
Okay. All right. That's all we need on that. I have nothing else, and I do not believe there's a need for an executive session, correct? All right, so unless someone has anything else, we will adjourn.